it says, oh, they're notifying everybody that we're live.
Yeah.
It seems to go live faster than you realize.
Yeah, it notifies after the fact, so it's like there's always like a couple seconds of like me picking my nose or something.
Yeah,
Sorry,
don't
everyone,
do
that's not
that.
part of
Don't
this.
do that. Yeah, it's still okay. It says we're live.
All right.
Here, I'll take let's see, I don't know, can I do oh, I have to turn it? There should be a way. There. Da da da. This is a 2x2. Two
2x2.
substackers asking each other 2 questions. All right.
All right.
And I'm Ann Kimbrough from Tell Me a Mystery. And introduce yourself.
I am Scoot from 1,000 Substacks that I've created. We got Gibberish is my primary fiction stack, so that's I think what most people will know me from right now.
Really? How many do you have?
I have a couple. I have a one for my Catholic writing, the Peasant Times Dispatch. I got my doodles at Scoodles. I've got a couple collaborations with some folks. I got a audio collaboration with folks at Esthete. I've got a fiction collaboration at Bhima Sakti, and
Oh man.
maybe some others. I got a little overzealous with the starting newsletters.
I think that is one of the things I want to talk to you about because
All right.
I think you might have thought I was joking, but to me, you are Mr. Substack.
All right, that's a badge of honor if ever there was one. I appreciate that.
I mean it. I mean, when I came on, so I came on like last March,
Mhm.
and you were like the person that seemed to know what they were doing. You were on notes seemed to be pretty new. I'm not sure when it started, but a lot of people were still complaining about it. And you were like doing it and you were doing it and pulling people in and people were talking about you. And I'm like, oh, I gotta follow this guy. And your writing was great too. So
Oh, thank you.
I'm wondering then if you can tell us, you've seen a lot. You've been here longer, a few years, right?
Yeah, it'll be three
So,
years in April.
oh my gosh, that's really cool. So you've
Yeah.
seen a lot and you've probably had to change a lot. That's probably why you have so many Substacks. So what's the big tip you would tell? All these new people are coming in for, especially a fiction writer. What should we be doing? What help us?
So, man, that's a good question. It's my answer is probably not going to be very satisfying, but like the number one thing I always tell folks is like just have fun with it. I think a lot of people get in their heads about the strategy or what's the ideal way to do this. What's the right writing cadence? What's the right this? It's like just show up. Pick something that works for you and just show up and have fun with it. And then people will relate to your enthusiasm and they'll enjoy the fact that they'll be able to tell that you're having fun. And if you just pick a schedule that works for you that you can do consistently, then people are going to see that you're reliable and you're trustworthy. And like if they subscribe to you, they'll see, they'll know when what they're getting and when they're getting it. So the consistency and just having fun, like those are probably I guess two things that
They're good things because it's true. You can really get burned out fast if you've got to learn Substack, right? Maybe give yourself time.
Yeah, I mean a little bit. I think it's not it's both easier and harder than I think people make it out to be. It's easier in that you really don't have to have much to start. Like it's you like anybody can start right now and they don't even have to have a plan. Like a lot of people get in their heads about
Mm.
this stuff. I'm just like if you want to do it, just do it. Try it, experiment. But it's hard because once you've started doing something, then you have to start like understanding what it is that you're doing and iterate and improve and evolve and if you want to learn from what you're doing, make it a living thing. And that's something that I like to tell folks too, is that like your Substack is not like that. Let me back up. A mistake that I made early on is that I was like, all right, I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to set everything perfectly, one and done, and I'm never going to change it. And that just it
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. It doesn't. You have to be able to evolve, and you have to be able to be a little bit flexible as you change, as your audience grows, as kind of what you find, as you find your voice, find what works for you, changes. Then like you're going to have to evolve everything. So be flexible with it, have fun with it. It's an experiment. That's all.
That's good. Well, I noticed you did do sort of a State of the Union address in this month about last year, and you
Yeah.
seem to take yourself to task. So, but and make you're going to make some changes. I did not, by the way, feel like you let anybody down. So I'm just saying,
No, I appreciate that.
but
Last
that's part of that. I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. So like last year I was like this time last year, I just finished my first widely read serial, which is Duel, which you did that
I
audio for
love it.
Nameless, and that was
Thank you.
the prequel for all of that. So I had
So
just
good.
it, and I was very excited to like, all right, we're gonna do another serial. Like serials are great, serials are fun. I want to do it. So like I was promising this serial, and I was like telling myself we're gonna do it. Things didn't happen that way. So like I got to the end of the year, and I'm like, all right, no, there wasn't a new serial this year. Sorry, I wrote a bunch of stuff, which was really nice and cool, but still didn't do the thing that I was like broadcasting last year. So now I'm just like, all right, well let's see what I actually can do and kind of go from there. But yeah, it wasn't. I'm not beating myself up over it. I just I like to be very careful about what it is that I promise folks because a lot of times my ambitions can exceed my ability.
I love that. I mean, because I felt the same way often that you jumped in and you don't know what you're doing, and you really feel like you've started this train, or maybe it's a ball rolling down the hill, and you have to
Yeah.
keep feeding it. So,
No.
well, now then, how much of a bumper do you give yourself, or do you have to have stuff completed before you put it out there?
Um. Right now, I definitely do have to have stuff completed just because I like there are a couple serials I start like mini series that I started in the last year, and like I didn't have a map for them, and so I wasn't able to finish them. They're on my list to revisit and to figure out how the story's supposed to work. But I was really kind of like traumatized by that because I was like, man, I
Oh,
hate not
no.
stuff. So I have a mini series in the works right now. It's going to be 3 parts. I've written 2 parts already. Third part I still have to figure out, but I've hired an editor to look at it, and I'll just do it.
Okay.
A hat tip to Sally Reed, Se Reed, who's
Uh,
she
Sally,
she looked at it. She did a review. It gave me a lot of really helpful feedback.
cool.
So like I'm getting my ducks in a row on this one. I'm very excited about this story, but it's going to start coming in February. So I just
Oh,
really
cool.
need a win for myself, and I need to have a story that I can actually finish. So that's what's coming. So
Very cool, very cool. All right, so I see we have some people joining, and we're doing one of these 2 by 2s that we want everybody else to do. Two
excellent.
substackers asking each other 2 questions. So, what do you want to ask
All right.
me?
I actually I watched your interview with Coomer Wolf, and he
Boomer's
mentioned
the best.
as well. Yeah, he's great. You did the kind of for lack of a better term, the cold calls to do audio narration for people's stories, and that was my introduction to you. You reached out, and I was like, am I about to get scammed? What is this?
I know.
But then I was like, all right, like that's no downside here. Either you do you did a great job with Nameless, and
Well, thank
I've
you.
really enjoyed following you since then. So where does like that's talk about throwing yourself into the mix and just figuring it out on the fly. Like where do you get that from? Do you have a background in sales or something? Like that's I admire the boldness and just kind of going for it. So
Especially
what's
since I thought you were Mr. Substack. I mean, I couldn't believe you even responded. That's the cool thing about Substack. You can
yeah,
reach people.
yeah, definitely. So yeah, how do you do that? Where does that come from?
I don't know. I'm an Air Force brat. My dad is a fighter pilot, so I think maybe it came from him. But I wanted to. I love audio, so that was part of what I wanted to develop while I was here. It's also the writing, and I just read Duel. That first, it was sort of a prequel, I think, to your story, and it was short. I mean, you do all this different flash fiction kind of stuff, and to me, I felt like that was part of that it went with your bigger story, and it was great. And I honestly, I re-listened to it since we were going to talk, and it was one of the first ones I did. I mean, I think Coomer I did first. So I don't know if I sent you. See, at least he was a real cold call, and you actually say, "Hey, I've done one." So you had some clue, but I don't know if it was like what you would have had in your mind as a writer, because I was a woman reading it, and it's a male detective. So I imagine the narrator probably was a male voice. But
No, yeah, but I mean, you did a fantastic job with it, and like the
well,
the
thanks.
sound design too, like that really blew me away. Like you did a
Thanks.
lot with it. You put a lot of work into it. So,
It
so that was
was fun. That's the thing is, I just find it really fun way to tell stories. So, thank you for. I mean, the worst that anyone can say is no. I mean, and
yeah,
so, and I can take a no. if you had said, "Hey, that's so sweet, but I'm not into that right now." Plus, it's your baby. I expected people to say no, and I only did like 3 because then I was like, I need to do my own, and I should do more because nobody said no. Everybody said, "Well,
Yeah.
okay, well, you want to, you go."
Like, so would you think that the collaborations helped you? Like, would you, for anyone listening, like, would you advise them to cold call their heroes and see if they?
Exactly. So the side that was for me was that I was reaching out to people that I thought, well, I liked your work. I mean, if I didn't think I could do a good job, I would have never done it. But that I could put something out there to someone that already had an audience. So maybe those people would find me. So yeah, so there
Great.
definitely was a self-serving part of it.
But that's a great way to
But it
do it.
came from a fangirl place. So you have to do that. It has to benefit both of you. I mean, it was fun. To me, it was
Yeah.
a fun thing to have, and I mean, I don't know if it helped you at all, but
Oh, it definitely did. It definitely great because like now I can point to like there's an audio narration. I mean, if a fan audio narration of a
yes,
story that I did, and that's
yeah,
that's very cool. It's very you know,
fun.
it's great to have that, and I really enjoy like collaborating across like just with
I
everybody.
agree. I think everyone should find the way that it suits you, and then find someone that it would help them too. If it's a win-win kind of thing, who wouldn't do it?
Yeah, exactly.
And it didn't take any time for you. So I thought at least at the very least you could listen to it and go, okay, it could die there, if you didn't like it. So to me, that's why it was a good offer to pitch to someone. So yeah, look at it from their point of view, maybe first to say, well,
Yeah,
why would they want to do it? So
yeah. No,
I'm,
that's good advice.
yeah, you had to go into your toolbox, which I'm sure you've done many times. Oh, I do want to talk to you about
Hmm.
all your flash fiction and your writing prompts because to me that's a whole great world that you've put out there. I'm certain a lot of people have come to you for that. And so I want to talk to you about the pros and cons of that and where you're going with it. But within that conversation, you have to talk about the headquarters.
The
Because I
headquarters.
don't know if people know this, and when I post this, I'm going to post a link because everybody has to read the headquarters.
Oh, the
You have to
fan
tell everyone what it
Substack.
is if they haven't read it yet.
So last year I did weekly exercises every Tuesday, and it was just like I was trying to write 250 words, 500 words, something like that. Just like to the way I would describe it to people is like it's how I keep the pilot light on of my like creativity. But like one of the ones that I wrote shortly after Notes launched, I think it was about the headquarters at it was Substack headquarters, and it was just kind of like satirizing like it's so strange on Substack that you're able to see you're like the CEOs and Substack employees and they're having fun with the platform. So like I had to have fun with it. So I was like, all right, well like let's talk about the algorithm. Let's talk about what they're doing. So like it's a good satire. If you've interacted with like Mills or Hamish McKenzie or Chris Best or any of these folks and any of the Substack employees, and you've interacted with them on Notes, then you'll see a little parody of them in this story. So yeah, I'll put a link out to it as well.
Yeah, it's so funny. And Mills in the comments, he commented on it.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently, it did its rounds in like the Substack Slack channel that they had. So that I was just chuffed to bits about that. That was really really fun, really funny. It just shows that like if you strike a nerve with your fiction, then like people will share it, and I think that's a really good
Exactly.
fiction community.
I mean, it was so you did it so cleverly. I think you should consider doing a sequel this year sometime because there's been a
I
lot of
almost did
changes.
one this past summer. So like I think that's I'm
You should do it. Because I mean, it's obviously not what their headquarters are like, that's why I mean, and now, of course, we do see them a lot more because they do plenty of interviews and videos. So I
yeah.
think it would have even more resonance because I love how they're sipping champagne and flying in helicopters. I bet they
Yeah.
would love that life. Not that they couldn't do it. They could do
Yeah.
it.
No, that's I
But
mean hope they have that much success. So yeah, it
yeah,
was. I'll look at that. I think I had a lot of fun with it, so that'd be really fun to do a revisit.
okay. Well, thank you. Well, but tell us more too then how you're gonna get back to the Flash fiction because people love that. They like those prompts and
Yeah. So, last summer I did a special kind of separate thing on notes that I was calling Flash Fiction Friday. That was kind of distinct from my writing exercises, but it's like I've got four, or it ended up being four kind of prompts that are just intended to jog your creativity. It's not intended to constrain. It's the kind of prompts that I enjoy, where it's like it's evocative, but it doesn't constrain you to a particular kind of story. And so I did it on notes, and then eventually, like, life got busy, and I just wasn't able to maintain it the way I did. So I was thinking about it. I was like, all right, like if I want gibberish to grow, like what are the things that I have? What are the things that that I've done? And someone suggested that, like, hey, like Flash Fiction Friday was awesome. Like, please do more of that. I was like, all right, well, let's see. Like, I mean, you have Miguel S doing his micro dosing. You have John T from Macabre Monday and his own publication doing the prompt mentos, which were really fun. Or at least he did one last Friday. So like people love doing the flash fiction, the microfiction, things like that. So I made a formal home for Flash Fiction Friday on my Substack. I made a separate section for it. There are going to be posts, and there's going to be people are going to be able to write their stories and share them in the subscriber chat, and then I'll be able to highlight them because I really enjoy doing the like community stuff, like lifting up kind of new writers or kind of unnoticed writers. So I'm really excited about being able to like highlight some of the flash fiction that's written with the prompts that I put out there. And yeah, and it's just like it's gonna be a regular series, and the trade off is that I'm not gonna do my weekly writing exercises anymore. So this is gonna be my new weekly offering, and then I'll do something else. I'll do a monthly writing exercise where it's a little more deliberate with it. I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. The prompts are I like to think that they're pretty unique, and I think people enjoyed them when I was doing them on notes. So it's gonna be fun to have a new kind of opportunity for people to just write and kind of see what strikes their creativity.
I love it. I think it's great that you figured out how to make it. It sounds like it'll be more sustainable now, and because you participate in it, which is I look forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. It's I'm because I'm kind of making them post, like I can kind of schedule them out in advance, and I can kind of think up the ideas. I don't have to think of it on the spot, every
Mhm.
Friday, like I was doing it on notes. Like you can't schedule notes and do things like that. So this is going to be it's going to be more sustainable. It's going to be a lot of fun, and they help me a lot just because like whenever I'm in a pinch, I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to write? Well, let me see what prompts I've got out there, and
Mhm.
give it a try. So it's gonna. I'm excited for it. We'll see. The first prompt is coming on January 31st, so I think it's like next, not this upcoming Friday, but the following Friday.
Soon. That's great.
Yeah,
That's great. And I see some people have joined us. I never know about that's to me the hard part. Hi guys. If you had a question, pop it in.
Hyun Woo. He's had Hyun Woo has had a rip roaring career on Substack recently because you got highlighted for your 300 Tang poems. He participated in gibberish writing competition, so that's why.
Oh, great.
Um, I like to see that you're doing well, Hyun Woo. If you're still here.
Cool.
So I had another question for you.
Okay. Yeah, I
Uh,
think we're down to our last.
yeah. Um,
Oops.
who is your biggest influence on your writing? 'Cause I know you write like the cozy mysteries and things, and I see an Agatha Christie poster behind you. Like, if is there like an author? Is there a work that's like if you want people to see
Mhm.
the root of your kind of creative style, like that you would point them to?
I was trying to think. So I have a screenwriting background, so that's where I came from. So I know that the very first story that I saw, it was a movie, was The Sting. I
Oh,
my parents used to take me to this hat sort of goes with that, doesn't it? I think that influenced me a lot. I remember coming out of that movie, I was pretty young and going, "Wow, I wanna do stuff like that." And I didn't even know what that stuff was. So I was kinda also, inspired a lot, I think, by my dad being a fighter pilot, so when anytime his buddies would come into town, they always told fighter pilot stories. So, I
Top Gun.
grew up on those kind of things, and so I think a storyteller was sort of inherent in me. But as a writer, yeah, I love Sherlock Holmes. I recently, wrote some I don't know if I have any here. It's somewhere in this room. I took during the pandemic, I just wanted to test myself. So I took, because a lot of, at that time, now all of the Sherlock Holmes short stories are public domain. So I
Oh,
took one and I translated it into, um, like, modern day kids were text messaging with Sherlock Holmes. And
oh,
in some magical way. So the whole story is a graphic novel of the kids texting with Sherlock, and it's using the original stories, and they're helping him, you know.
oh, that's amazing. How did
Yeah,
did you do the graphic design for it too, or the graphic
I
part of
did, and it's
it?
all clip art. It's all licensed clip art through. Yeah, so I mean, the artwork is okay, but it was more the fun of trying to figure out how to do it, what they would say to each other, and sort of to teach kids how to think like Sherlock Holmes. You know, that kind of
Yeah,
reasoning. So you can read the book, you can write in it, and you know, I did a couple, and then I joined. I went out and joined a lot of. Do you know there are Sherlockians?
I had
There are
no idea.
there are groups of them. They meet all the time. They're wonderful people, very welcoming, and I still do some online Zooms with them.
That's really
But I
cool.
went and I spoke at one of their conferences, and it was really fun. But I mean, at some point, I was like, well, I want to write my own stuff, not, you know, just collaborate with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Yeah, but I think that's really cool because like between like the text messages kind of conceit is a really clever way of like turning a story on its head and kind of looking at it from a new angle. But like also even with the sting, like those are very creative ways of telling stories. Like it's just like it's funny you mentioned the sting because I just rewatched that recently. I love that movie,
It's a
and
great movie.
as much there's a lot of story that doesn't get told on the screen, and like that's kind of like that blows my mind. I really like the create those creative storytelling elements. So I think that's really cool that those have both that those have influenced you and that you've been able to take that and run with it.
Thank you. Yeah, that definitely leaning into the mystery side because I used to write a lot of action adventure, but you can have a little bit of everything in your
Yeah,
stories. And well, you're there too with your with Duel and the techno thriller. I mean, God, you had all that. I That's why I was drawn to that serial.
yeah, no, and that was my first take at doing kind of a mystery. I'm glad it left a positive impression on you because that's something that's like once my serials finish, I kind of like I hate looking at them again. And like
Oh,
Duel, I really want to like revisit, and I think that would be a fun one to novelize or something. But I'm just it's
yes.
how do you balance what you're writing offline and what you're writing online and things like that. I haven't figured it out yet, but
You're
it's
not doing this. I'm doing mine are all one thing.
oh yeah,
That's what, yeah. So I sterilized the Harvey Girl, which is a historical fiction mystery. And once I was done with it, which I felt like I learned on that, I learned how to substack on that. So it was a lot of, I felt the story was kind of up and down. So when I took it, it's still up, but when I took it back and I rewrote it and I wrote it, I put the book out. I just put the book out. So, and
oh
I'll
yeah,
want to write the next one of it. But I don't know. That was sort of my reckoning with Substack was, yeah, I want to come here to spend time with writers and to do writing. It was a way not to waste my time, like doing
yeah,
other things. But and it worked. But also, I finally said, well, I have to have a purpose too for what I'm. I feel like you have to give your writing free as a writer. I don't know. We should talk about paywalls because I
oh yeah,
didn't understand them at all when I came to Substack, and of course, it says turn it on, so I turned it on. And then I fretted over what am I offering for the people that are paying? And I finally realized, well, I can't put a bunch of stuff behind a paywall. So basically, I feel like my paywall is like, if you read my stuff for free and you like it, well, then you can pay me if you want. You can pay me
well,
after the fact.
I think that's a really good model, and I think that really lends like Substack lends itself to that for fiction writers because I think it's very hard to get a start in fiction, and it's very hard to achieve the kind of notoriety that would make it easy to like put stuff behind a paywall and everyone's like like there's a story that I want know I want to read and I want to pay for it. Like it's nobody knows who Scoot is really outside of like a Substack sphere, and it's like so how do you balance that? But I think the paying to support and encourage you to continue writing, that's a great model. And like I only just recently started kind of doing a rolling paywall with like the ancient history stories. Because then it's like if
Mhm.
someone shows up late, then they can be like, all right, well, like I like his current stuff. I want to see his old stuff, so let me, pull $1 out. But there's not a wrong way to do that either. Like there's not a wrong way. The only wrong way that I would say is like having too aggressive of a paywall where like nobody can read your stuff, so no one knows whether it's worth paying for. It's like you gotta have
Exactly.
a lot of out there for people to be able to read for free.
Well, so you should tell me what you think of this, because so what I decided to do is that going forward, everything I put out, I'll have a link to my stuff if you want to buy my books. I have books out there. So I figured that you can read any of my stuff for free, but I'll have a little link at the maybe at the beginning. I'll say, hey, this is where you can find me. And at the bottom, somebody posted this great thing about how images, you can click on images, and people like to click on images, which I hadn't even thought to do in any of my posts. So I have a picture of my book. So like I have some cozy
Yeah.
mysteries, like you said. So if someone liked it, plus there's also the thing is if you are writing it ahead of time and it's done, which I usually am not. I'm just writing ahead. But if you are and you have a completed book, why not have a link if someone wants to read the whole book? I don't want to read it every week. I've read people like that. And there was one girl, I'm like, I love your stuff. I want to read the rest of the story like right now. Where's the link? She had it done. So she finally put the whole book out like when there were like 4 chapters left. But you know what? I went and bought it because I wanted to read it.
Yeah, good.
So
No, I think using
it's
your
what
newsletter to push people towards your actual books, like that's gonna do more to help like you and us and just fiction writers in general as a career. Because like that's what we want. Like the product is like an actual book that people can buy. And that just helps us get our start. We can say, oh look, I've got published works, I've got this, that, and the other. And
yeah.
then that it draws in more eyes to the Substack where you're creating and doing all of this stuff, but it all points to a physical book or maybe a digital book. But um, I think that's a great way to go about it.
Good. That's the only thing I could figure out. And I mean, I know we finished our 2 by 2 questions, but since it just came up today and I saw you post about it, do you want to say something about how there's maybe a bunch of new TikTokers coming here and what that means for us?
Sure. Yeah. So much hay is being made over the closure or not closure of TikTok. Ultimately, I mean, I think this is good. Bleh. These are good things. Um, a horde of people with a ton of different interests are coming to the platform, and it's like it's but before we were talking about TikTok specifically. Like people were coming from all over, and people have a presence all over. Like we just didn't know about it, but like a lot of news, like TikTok's in the news, so it's like everyone's kind of has an opinion about this, and that's fine. But like the note that I posted today was the fact that one newsletter had 24,000 new subscribers over the last week, and that's huge. But there's going to be trickle effects where all of those subscribers and like the way I framed it in the note was that like 1 degree of separation away, maybe like 10% of those people explore, and another degree of separation, even like 10% of them. So like 24,000 to 2,400 to 240, but it doesn't actually work like that because there's not like a tiered system. Like I've tried following recommendations to see like how many degrees of separation I was, but like recommendations don't even like drive the. I mean, well, they do drive a lot, but like that's not what we're talking about by degrees of separation. Because like if a TikToker who subscribes somewhere can go and be like, hey, well, I'm also interested in fiction, so then they'll go and they'll search for fiction and they'll find something, and then they're like without any connection whatsoever to the original like subscription, they'll find the fiction community and then they'll go in and subscribe to a bunch of newsletters. So there's absolutely zero downside as the way I see it. Like that's we're going to get a ton of people who are interested in a ton of things, and like our job remains the same. That we just need to continue writing at a high level of quality, where they're going to read us and they're going to be like, hey, this is someone who deserves my subscription.
I love that because it's true. If you aren't writing consistently, I don't know. Do we know how the algorithm works? But I think consistency always matters anywhere.
Yeah, yeah, no, and like I don't think it's not necessarily well. Okay, the notes algorithm is like sorted by interest, I think. So like you follow someone, then you get to you see they throw in a little more people who seem similar, who the algorithm decides seem similar. If you're in the home feed, it's going to be much more varied versus the following feed. So I think that has high potential, especially for people who have varied interests and talk to a lot of people on notes. There's some people who like live on the home feed. They're going to surface a lot of stuff. We're going to see an influx over the next months of TikTokers exploring around and seeing a bunch of stuff. So I think that's good. As far as like posting, I mean the consistency of posting is just so that they see, like when they come to your newsletter, they're not going to wonder where you are. Like, oh, this looks like a defunct newsletter because they haven't posted in 3 months. Like, no, you want to have something at
Yes.
least once a month. I have one of my newsletters. I post once a month. It doesn't grow very fast, but I like you do different things, you get different results, and so like I know that, and I'm okay with that. But like I try to have a weekly touch point for Gibberish. So like that's going to be the Flash Fiction Friday coming up soon. And then that buys me time to work on the bigger projects and all of that. And that's just well, like if some stranger walks by and they like poke their head into Gibberish, they're going to see, all right, like dude, this is a lively community. He's putting out stuff. His community is commenting. Like, let me check it out. So it all goes into the mix, but you want to show people that you are in a live Substack and you are doing stuff, and your subscribers are excited about you.
That's great. Great. I agree. I totally agree. And it's good to hear you say it because I'm hoping that some people come to this and get to hear it for the first time and it'll help them. You've helped me so much. I mean, you really did. You were one of the first people that I felt were creating a community here at Substack, and
Thank
it's
you.
wonderful. It's great to
Yeah,
meet you. I reached out and I could talk to you. How
yeah,
cool is that?
yeah,
That doesn't happen. I can't, that's never happened on any other social media ever. That for me,
yeah.
people I met some IRL, but it was with a whole bunch of group of people, right?
Yeah. So this is really fun. This is a great idea to
It's
do
fun.
the 2x2. Anyone listening, I saw that there are some more people joining. Like, I mean, take a page out of Anne's book and cold call your heroes and go live with them and talk to them about what's
Yeah.
going on, and ask them
Yeah.
just questions. It's very easy. It doesn't take much time at all.
Yeah, that's what the goal is, that we want everyone to go out and do this. Two Substackers asking each other two questions, and we just learn a lot. It's really fun too.
Yeah.
There've been a couple others. Jamie Buckley did one too with Cummer Wolf, and I saw. Oh, Hallie did one with D.W. Dixon, uh, Hallie the Moonlight Bard. So I
Yeah.
think it's really great, and I hope more people do it. It's so cool to listen to everybody's take, especially because so far it's just fiction writers. If it went broader, that's great. But I feel like our fiction community really can learn a lot from each other this way.
Yeah, and like communication is so much more than just writing, and I think that's like just being able to speak to someone, like even virtually mediated but face to face. Um, you it, you can't replicate that any other way. So I'm a big believer in it, and I think it's a great idea. So I appreciate you doing this and inviting me on.
Well, thank you. Thanks for coming, guys, and thanks for everybody that came and listened. We'll let you go back out there and get to writing.
Awesome. All right, thank you
All
so much.
right. Thank you. Bye.